in today's episode, I'm joined by the TechTwo, who are Rishi Bhogal and Jamshaid Hameed. And they'll tell you all about why they're called the TechTwo. But their formal roles they are account executives for TechTwo. And this is a great conversation because you may recall, if you've been following our episodes, a few episodes ago, we had Gabby with us, Gabby Otimoyet. And we heard back from our listeners that actually hearing from colleagues who are earlier in their career progression journey is really helpful in terms of being more relatable. But also, I think for senior decision makers as well, gaining insights on what is our young, diverse and dynamic talent and emergent talent looking for in terms of their career progression too. This is a great conversation because what we also hear from the TechTwo is actually how they face challenges very early on in their career and how they navigated those. And yes, there is pun here, but it is true that led bravely into then being proactive into securing the roles that they're in now. We also hear about the power of networks, about representation, and that age-old comment that you can't be what you can't see, but what that really means for them as well. I don't want to say any much more. I would just say, please take a listen. And if there are insights or gold or gems, as I call them, that you hear here shared, please share this episode with somebody else who you think would benefit too. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, this has taken a little while to bring together, but I am so glad to have you both here. And as you know, we record the intro beforehand, so people will know who you are. So welcome to Bravery in the Boardroom. Now, it'll be really good, because even I was asking just before we started to record, isn't it? I know you as the TechTwo, but actually it'll be really nice for people to know what your real job titles are. So Jam, should I start with you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Jamshaid, one half of the TechTwo crew. I'm an account executive at TechTwo. So what that entails is, I'm going to job description.
Yeah.
What that entails is essentially activating relationships to create relationships, embedding digital innovations into our NHS to sort of save what people know as a breaking and failing NHS.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. I get that. And Rishi, what would you tell me about, what would you want me to know about TechTwo on top of that?
Well, I guess it's always good when Jam goes first, because he kind of sums it up quite nicely before I get to say anything. But yeah, you hit the nail on the head. We kind of bridge the gap between, the NHS, private organisations, and people who are, and organisation suppliers who are looking to get into that space.
Yeah.
So we facilitate that bridge almost, whether they're a startup, whether they're, well recognised within the space. We facilitate.
Okay. So I know, people understand a little bit about what you do now, but what our audience always really wants to know is, tell me a bit about you. So I'll stay with you, Rishi. It'd be really good to hear a bit more about your journey and what's got you to here at TechTwo.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess my journey is slightly unconventional, but now being in the space, I've actually heard a lot of similar stories, which is cool.
Okay.
So my background is actually, I was a sports therapist.
Oh, okay.
So that was my undergraduate. Went to uni in London, 4 years at uni. And yeah, I worked for a chiropractic company. That was my first job coming out of uni. I was a practitioner there. We specialized in back and neck care. Stayed there for a couple of years. And then unfortunately, when COVID hit, there was a little bit of a gap and uncertainty, and I left that role shortly before COVID happened, unknowing that was actually going to be the case, and I wasn't furloughed, where I saw a lot of my mates were like working from home and furloughed. I was thinking, oh God, how has this happened? So I was out of a job for a while, around about 6 months, and then Bupa were advertising a few roles within the COVID testing space. And I thought, well, it's giving back to the community and people that are needing, tests. So I thought, I'll apply and, use my time wisely. So I did that for a while, a few months, and then a role opened up as an advisor and doing some physio work with them. And then stayed with Bupa for a couple of years doing that. So kind of experienced the private sector.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I wasn't kind of enjoying that patient face-to-face care as much as I was previously when I come out of uni. And I thought, I need a bit of a change of lifestyle, a bit of a change, slower pace of life, and going down a different perspective of health. So I did a little bit of research, found digital health tech, found Tech Canal, found Clive Henry, Sam and Liam, and I thought, yeah, you know what, sounds really cool. And here we are.
Okay.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I love that. I love to hear, Jeff, it's people always, I've just had a conversation actually before we started recording here about transition and making that transition from a clinical, or professional background, different profession, different pathway, and making that transition. So, so inspiring to hear how, okay, out of that adversity of what happened during COVID, you actually being proactive and thinking outside of the box and making that transition. It's so encouraging for people to hear that, because so many times people put up their own barriers, isn't it? What have I got that's transferable?
Yeah, it was a lot. And because it was such a jump from what I was used to and what I had learned throughout uni, because that was my knowledge came from uni.
Yeah.
It is what I trained to be.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a sports therapist since I was like 16. Coming from football, I had an injury. I wanted to know how I heal myself, come across physio and sports therapist, and that's all I wanted. That's all I knew. And it was a shame that I kind of fell out of love with the patient, and I still like, give advice out here and there, but it was a shame, but it's just kind of how it went. But it was, I'll be honest, it was a jump. It was a big jump. But what I say to people, if they're kind of going through a similar journey that I did to myself, and if it is something on your radar, if it's something that you really want to do, just kind of bite the bullet and just go for it, because you really don't know where it's going to take you. And it's led to me being on a podcast.
Here we are.
Didn't think it would happen. So yeah.
Okay. And Jam, talk to me. What's brought you here?
My route was a bit different to Rishi's. I graduated from uni, so I was at the University of Warwick studying biomedical science. But before I got into university, I thought, okay, this is a space I want to work in. Within the medical field, but not patient-facing.
Yeah.
I want to be that middle person that sits in the middle, but still makes a difference between patient care and how hospitals work and run.
Yeah.
Just because without certain, let's say, protocol or certain technology, a hospital won't effectively or efficiently run. That way, that will affect patient care. I've seen loved ones of my granddad and my grandma constantly being rushed to the hospital. They needed records, and it's either they're looking for paper-based records or they're asking me to run upstairs to try find a letter that I didn't really want to find. So me and Rishi were talking about this earlier. Something that should have been centralized on things like an EPR. So that was my transition during uni. So the last 2 years of university, COVID hit. So I was at home. There was nothing on campus apart from going into compulsory labs.
Yeah.
Which were even then once a month or twice a term at most. But during my time at university, I picked a part-time job at Nike. So I was in sales, been there for 6.5 years. I still do it over the weekend. But what I found was I was quite good at rapport building. And I thought that's a skill that I could transfer into something more corporate.
Yeah.
Something like the health tech sector.
Yeah.
So I saw the job advertised on LinkedIn. So I gave it a shot. I had my interview with Sam and Liam on a Monday morning just before I head down to London. By the time I've got into London, I've got an email saying I've got the job.
Wow.
But again, what Rishi said, Rishi fell in love with sports physio. I had a passion for health tech or health, like sales within health. Just because you can make a difference even though you're not patient facing. And I think that's quite important because everyone thinks you have to be a doctor or a nurse or a healthcare professional to make an impact, which fair enough they do. And, respect to them massively.
For sure.
But there's people in the middle that are doing background work that still make that difference. So that was my sort of journey, a freshman out of university.
I think, you know what, I know it's really helpful for people because I said, if you're in the NHS or in the healthcare industry, you understand within reason, the non-clinical roles, don't you? But we have colleagues and people who may be outside of it and they think, oh, people who work in NHS only work in hospital, isn't it? And you have to be a doctor or nurse. So I think it's really helpful to understand some of that. What are the different roles? And from both of you having the passion that connects to good care, isn't it? And connects to efficient uses of resources, connects to efficient pathways, but you've brought your energy and interest to different components of it. I love that. I love how you've helped me understand that. So let me ask you the question though, before I know I switched my questions around. I didn't mean to confuse you, but in what helped you to get there? So you've both spoken about the practical steps that got you here, but asking you both, and I'll ask you first, Jam. Okay, you're saying you saw the role on LinkedIn and you just went for it. What gave you the confidence to do that?
So I networked.
Tell me more.
So I networked with my dad's friend who works for a pharma company here in Birmingham. And he always said, look, there's sales as well within a job that you could do after university. So I gave it a shot. I did a couple of days volunteering with him. And it was quite interesting, to be fair. Just seeing the rapport he builds with so he deals with GPs and pharmacists primarily.
Yeah.
So seeing him do on a day-to-day basis and seeing the impact that he has, and so questions that he was asking GPs regarding certain, let's say, medication that he was selling. So I did that, and he was telling me, you have to watch this YouTube video, you have to go on this website, that back then it was CCGs, clinical commissioning groups. Now they're ICBs or ICSs.
Yeah.
Learn what they are, learn how the funding works in the NHS. Where does the money come from? How is it centralised into local areas like Birmingham or solely where I'm from? So finding out how the money shifts and knowing that money is being pumped in to where we need it.
Yeah.
But it's how we're going to utilise them resources effectively and properly without keeping it as a burden. So that was my sort of journey as well. One of the things I'd recommend highly to someone who wants to come into industry is network. Because without networking, if you're going to get asked the question by a founder, by your seniors, and you crumble, they're effectively going to be, have you done your research on the job, which is a big movement. And when you transition from, like I transitioned from university, corporate, to the Clive Henry Group. If I didn't know how the NHS works, I don't think I'd be able to do my job on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Really, oh my gosh. This is gold. Like, you know, honestly, because as you say, people will thinking, okay, I can just go on LinkedIn and have a look. But actually what you've told us there is I also used my network and was proactive in doing some voluntary work to understand it even more as well. Like, yes, those nuggets are gold. Thank you. So Rishi, what helped you? So again, and especially from what you were saying, being out of work for 6 months before, how did you kind of rev up and be brave enough to kind of apply for this role?
Yeah, I mean, that's the key word, I think, was being brave, because during that time, the whole world was just flipped with COVID. Everything stopped. And I think a lot of people didn't know the direction the world was going in, let alone themselves. So it's trying to kind of realign and what your goals are, I guess. So, you know, fortunately at the time was my girlfriend, fiance, now my wife. She was like proper rock to me. My family circle was really important to me. And obviously with COVID bubbles, it was just me and my mum at home. So I was leaning on my close ones quite a lot for advice, support, direction as well. Because like I said, it took a lot for me to shift from the clinical background face-to-face to what we're doing now. So I'd say, leaning on a lot of family strength and they're massive to me now, even now that, I've kind of found my path, still lean on them now to this day for advice.
So tell me, I mean, and like I said, it's almost like when I speak to people about career progression, I often talk about developing your support toolbox, right? And listening to both of you there, your family network was a key tool in that support toolbox, wasn't it, for you, in helping you when it was really challenging? for you, Jam, in terms of actually going in there and going, who knows this space, isn't it? Who can I tap into and lean on? I'm really hearing that. I want to know more about your career goals then. So, okay, we're here, right? We've heard about what got you here. Now, I might be asking a question that maybe is a little bit offline in terms of my co-founders are your bosses, but actually, like me, they're absolutely in tune with supporting people to progress and fulfill their potential. So for you both, and if I come to you, Jam, what would you say to me if I said, so what's your career aspiration? Where are you heading to?
So the world is your oyster, right?
It is. That's very cliche.
But I think as TechTwo grows, as me and Rishi are the only two at TechTwo out now, hence the term, the TechTwo. As it grows to a point where we need, to manage teams effectively, then the skills that we've learned from the early days of TechTwo, how it works, what are the rights and wrongs of, talking to certain professionals in the NHS or networking with certain co-founders, founders of companies, and using our skills that we've picked up along the way, effectively managing the team, not only build themselves and build TechTwo, but build on the Clive Henry group. So I think that is one aspiration of mine, is to manage my very own team that could still make their difference to the NHS and the wider healthcare sector.
Okay. And Rishi, what does it look like? What does that roadmap look like for you?
Yeah, kind of a similar path in terms of taking up more of a leadership role. The people that you get on this podcast are in leadership roles, but it might be nice for people that are watching to see two individuals who are kind of at the beginning of their
for sure
digital health tech journeys.
For sure.
We're coming up to 10 months.
Yeah. It feels like you've been around forever. My goodness.
We're still very early stages, but in time with a lot of hard work, hopefully a leadership role comes of it, and Sam and Liam, our bosses, are amazing at that. Kind of, they get a real kick out of nurturing and trying to grow individuals that are kind of starting off. That might be young coming out of uni, coming out of apprenticeships. There's a member of our team that the design team done an interview with the other day, so check that out. His journey, and now he's smashing it with the Woodrow arm of Clive Henry Group. So we were in good hands with Sam and Liam. I think with the direction that they lead us in.
And we've had Sam and Liam on the podcast, and I think what I heard a lot, I mean, yes, we know them outside of it, but what I heard a lot from them is about actually talent is everywhere. And for them, really casting their net wide. They spoke about, throw CVs out the window. We recruit for values. We recruit for potential. We recruit for that energy and commitment that we can see. And I know, knowing them, the adversity that you both have gone through and being brave enough to transition and what you've done and taking ownership, I know will very much appeal to them in what they look for in talent and development. So let me fast forward you then. So imagine, okay, you've got your own team. There's two questions I want to ask you. So first of all, Rishi, I want to ask you mentioned about, leading. Might be sooner than what you think. You were saying about leading. But if I asked you, how would you describe your leadership style for being 3 words? What would you say? What would you say about your style and how you look after other people?
I'd say calm, honest, and determined. Yeah.
Okay. And Jam, what would you say?
Mine would be fair, firm, but trustworthy.
And I heard you, both of you saying, so you saying about leading, Jam, you talking about the team. I want to come to that question about why do you think it's important? So I know I shared just now why I know Sam and Liam recruit and really think about where are we trying to recruit from? What is it we're trying to do and what do we want to see in our organisation and our businesses? But for yourselves, if I come to you first, Jam, what difference does it make from your perspective of having a more diverse team?
I think getting to know different people's cultures, values, religion, belief plays a huge impact in it. I say that because when I first started my job at TechTwo, I was 2 weeks into Ramadan, which Ramadan is coming up as again.
Yeah. I know we picked our date, didn't we, to make sure it wasn't in Ramadan. Yeah.
And I remember one of the first things Sam said to me and Liam said to me was, "We know it's Ramadan, so if you need an extra break, feel free to take an extra break." And me being new into my job, I was like, I don't really want to take the mick. So I just cracked on with what I was doing. But knowing that I've come into day one of my role to an organisation I've never worked in before, to an industry I've never worked in before, to my new boss is now saying, if you need another break because you're fasting, feel free to do it. And I think that was quite nice as well, because I've never had that before in any of the jobs that I've had. So knowing that there's certain beliefs, religions, values that people observe, I think that's quite important, because as you build your team, you're going to have a very different team. You're going to have cultural differences, religious differences that you're going to have to pick up and respect in the long run.
Yes.
And whether you do that effectively plays a huge impact on the retention rate of whether or not that individual is going to be motivated to do the best work they can and grow themselves and the company, or they're just going to take a backseat and said, if my leaders aren't bothered, then why should I be bothered?
I really hear that. And you know what? It sounds crazy that I should be asking that question, but I still hear that question answered. You know, why do we need to have diversity? Well, my first response is the UK working age population is more diverse than it ever has been before, right? And what I really heard from you there is, okay, your bosses may not know, you know, they're not Muslim. They're not from a Muslim background. However, they recognize that there might be something that you need that's different. And I always say to colleagues, you know, you don't have to know everything. You don't have to understand everything. Being aware is that first thing, like what you said, isn't it? Being aware that there's a difference and asking, is there anything you need from me to help you do your job in the best way that you can?
But knowing that they thought of that before I even stepped into the building on my first day was quite heartwarming as well.
Yeah.
Because they recognise different values and different cultures.
Yeah. I hear that. So Rishi, let me ask you about, so we've just discussed about having that diversity in your team and why that's important. Whole thing about bravery in the boardroom, isn't it? About my determination, and I talk about it a lot, about to see boardrooms and senior leadership and business owners more reflective and representative of the communities they serve. What's your views on that? I'd be keen to hear what you think.
Yeah, I think it's just massively important. You know, diversity breeds confidence and it breeds knowledge, not only to leaders, but, you know, just everyone in your team. It's being aware, it's being knowledgeable of different individuals, different cultures, like Jam said. But yeah, also representation's massive. If like now, kind of looking back, I mean, I'm 29 now, like hitting 30 soon. But now looking back when I was younger, and I know we hear it a lot on social media, we hear it a lot on, you know, on TV and the radio, whatever you listen to. But being young, looking out, seeing people that look like you, that sound like you, you know, that might have the same views as you. But being a kid, that's invaluable. And, you know, you're looking up to someone and you're thinking, oh my God, like, that could potentially be me when I'm older. That is invaluable to someone who's, you know, looking up into that industry, whatever industry. It doesn't have to be what we're in. It can be anything. It could be a sports person. It could be, you know, I don't know, whatever it might be. But yeah, representation is huge, I think.
You know, you can't be what you can't see, right? That's what they say. Yeah. And tell me a bit more. So I know from the times that I have seen you and we've been together, previous guests on the podcast as well. So, you know, we've had Asma Nafis as well, who's co-chair of APNA. And I've spoken here before about the power of networks, both large networks like APNA, but also smaller specialized networks. I know that you've had the pleasure, I'd say it that way, isn't it, of being able to connect and attend some of the APNA events. What has that meant for you? Do you see a benefit of that, or do you see it differently?
Yeah, it's massive. That was such an honor to be a part of that. Me and Jam, like, how mad was that? Just the...
So tell our audience where you went, because they might not know.
So we had the honor of attending House of Commons for a networking dinner to celebrate 75 years of the NHS.
Yeah,
that in itself is huge. And to be fair, like, even not attending, if we didn't attend that and we saw that on social media, for me that's massive anyway.
Yeah.
Seeing representation in the House of Commons,
yes,
with a group of people,
yeah,
that's massive. And the fact that we were there to kind of experience it made it even more special.
Yeah,
because like I said, looking into industries and spaces, and you don't see a lot of South Asians not getting the recognition that we deserve, and then seeing that in the House of Commons is crazy for me, to be honest. So no, it was really cool and really, like, inspiring as well. Again, we touched on not being in this industry for too long, and being in a space of such influential and inspiring leaders in this space.
Yeah.
Was a little bit for myself. I'm not going to speak for you, Jan, but like for myself, a little bit of imposter syndrome being there, because I'm sitting there thinking, wow, like, these lot have, been in this industry for a long time and faced a lot of barriers and jumped a lot of hurdles to get to where they are. And there's me sitting there after about 8-9 months of being in this role. Was a little bit of imposter syndrome, but was really special and something that I'll probably hold with me for a long time. So
it
really cool.
Yeah, I love that. I love to hear that. And Jam, for you, what's your reflections on attending that event and being, in and around the APNA network space?
I mean, I think it was amazing. I remember walking through the doors of House of Commons and thinking, and I said this to Rishi, we're in the place where some of the most important decisions of our country are made. And we're also right down the hall from it.
Yeah.
And I remember walking and I was like, is this for real? I've just left university less than 18 months ago and I'm here. My first sentence of that LinkedIn post was, would I have thought the year after graduating the University of Warwick I'd be here?
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to very nice comment. So, But no, Rishi's absolutely right. Some of the members of the APNA community have worked so hard to where they are now within their executive roles in the NHS for various different trusts.
Yeah.
Whether that's through voluntary work or through actually being corporate in the NHS. And we're essentially just two individuals who have stepped into this health tech sector. But being part of that community is sort of a privilege in itself, knowing that whenever we go to events and we see ASMA or JAGTAR, we're having really good conversations with them. And we're always looking forward to the next APNA event.
Yeah.
The first one we went to was at, I keep on saying this, but the University of Warwick.
Yeah.
So it's at my home away.
Yeah.
But knowing that I've gone back, but in a professional capacity, was amazing in itself.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
And I remember sending a picture to my dad at the House of Commons name. The name badge, and there was a comment I can't say. I got a reply from on this podcast. But the second message after that was that even I've not been there.
Yeah.
And I'm 24 years old and I've stepped foot there.
Yeah.
But that just shows that we're in a network that, and an industry with leaders, again, with Sam and Liam, that give us these opportunities to actually go out and attend, which is, again, an amazing experience in itself and an opportunity.
Do you know what, though? I hear and I see here, two things. One is both of you were brave enough to make the moves you did to get the roles that you're holding now, and you seized those opportunities, even when it was challenging, even when you might not have known. And you're here now. And like you're saying about APNA, I think what you said about you can't be what you can't see. But also I know about APNA, one of their key values is you lift as you climb, right? And I know Asma and Jagtar as chairs very much do that. You lift as you climb. And I think that's what I'm hearing there and seeing there, isn't it? You seeing representation, you seeing your people who look like you, people who understand your background, gives you some inspiration to be able to navigate to that space, but also that those conversations, what they share with you, and I know both of them have gems galore, right, about career progression and how you lead people. Because I think that's another thing is important, isn't it? It's not just, I always say, it's not just about representation by sight, it's how you're leading people, isn't it? Those leadership behaviours that you both spoke about in the words that you describe your own leadership style, you know, the grounding that you're receiving from that. And I'm elaborating the point because the term network, I think, is twofold here. You spoke about your family networks, right? But here we're talking about that macro network, but it's specialised because it's for people from your culture and background and heritage. But it's also a large network, so there's a wealth of experience. And actually, APNA has given you both that brilliant experience of going to the House of Commons that you wouldn't have been able to have if the network hadn't used their influence to be able to create that opportunity for all members of the network. So it's just brilliant to hear it, but I tease it out for people in terms of, please, if you're looking to progress your career or even to excel in the roles you're in, look around you and see what networks are out there for you. You know, those specialised ones, whether that's to do with your cultural heritage, whether that's to do with your age group, whether that's to do with the profession you work in, seek out your networks and connect to them, because it's not only the shiny stuff about House of Commons, but actually when you have the values of a network like APNA, where they're there and they want to see everyone win, it's invaluable, isn't it? It really is invaluable. So thank you for sharing that. I've only got a few more questions you'll be happy to know. I mean, you've given us a lot of advice in this conversation, all right, that we've had, but I really want people, if we're talking to other aspiring leaders or consultants, particularly people who want to get into health tech, is what I would say as well, because I think it is a shiny, sexy industry, let's be honest. I think people are talking about it a lot, it's buzzing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if we've got people listening who I want to try and get in there, I want to kind of move my career on, is there any other advice that you'd offer them? You touched on some, Jam, before about, know and understand the NHS. Is there anything else you'd want to share? Should I come to Jam first? Is that all right? I'll put you on the spot.
No, so yeah. Networking was one of my main ones, and knowing what industry you're going into by doing the research, but also be brave. No pun intended there. But be brave.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important, because whatever industry you step in, whether you're new to it or whether you understand it, you're sitting in a new role and you don't know what to expect. So, for instance, touching back on APNA, one of the members of APNA who won your panel discussion in September, Mahmud Nawaz.
Yeah.
I remember that conversation he had, and one thing he said was, just go for it, because he started off his leadership as a school governor.
That's right.
He then became non-executive director for, I believe it was just in Yorkshire.
That's right.
He's now chair.
I know.
Chesterfield NHS Trust.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
he's obviously being brave.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Not only that, it's someone from the APTA community and someone that, we've said hi to in passing.
Yeah.
Not only is it someone from the South Asian community, but knowing that he started off from a voluntary experience as school governors are, I believe.
Yeah, they are.
Building your qualities as a leader.
Yeah.
Voicing your opinion.
Yeah.
Voicing them actions and acting on them. To then going into a non-executive director role for a trust. To now basically running your own trust.
Yeah.
Speaks volumes in itself.
Yeah, it really does. It really does.
It does. And fair play to Mahmood for getting where he is now. But that should be a roadmap for everyone.
And we're literally a year to the day that Mahmood came on our Bravery in the Boardroom webinar for the North East and Yorkshire region, right? And as you know, he's amazing, right? Amazing, inspiring, and so kind in how he shares and unpacks everything, isn't it, to help others. And I remember on that record, I said, all of you here, we had 3 Neds, and I said, all of you, the qualities that you're sharing, what you're speaking about, how to lead, how to run, and lead in that role. You should all be going for chair roles. I hope I see you all as chairs. And kind of, they were laughing at our money, and look, we're literally a year to the day. And I think Mahmoud's had his first couple of weeks in his role as chair, and as you say, so inspiring, but actually being brave, isn't it? Because you can have all the talk, but when you sit in that very hot seat as a chair, right? And I know we give him our best wishes, but so inspiring. So thank you for bringing him into the conversation. Definitely. So Rishi, what would you say, especially any people wanting to get into the health tech space?
Yeah. I think, to be fair, jamming that, hit the net. But no, I think, because of my journey, I can kind of give a little bit of experience. And, and like I said, it did take a little bit of, finding myself and finding that right path and journey. And it does take a lot of kind of self kind of searching just to make sure that that is what you want to do. But just trust your instincts, trust your gut as well. Because if there's a seed of, an inkling of, what would it be like if I did this, or what would it be like if I went down this route? That, bit of intrigue, kind of settles in, and I was thankfully now, and I'm grateful that I did do it, obviously with a little bit of push, like I mentioned earlier, with family and close ones, my wife, to push me to do it. But just, kind of bite the bullet and do, because you really don't know where it's going to take you. And, you and don't live with regrets as well. Because if you look back and say, oh, you know what, I really should have just done it. And you don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. So,
of course.
So don't look back and say, what if, what could have happened? Just kind of do it. And you know what, if it doesn't work out, then at least you've given it all that you could have given as well. Because not every situation and not every, scenario has a silver lining to it.
Yeah. Well, we heard that with what happened to you before.
Yeah, exactly. There are barriers. Sometimes there aren't happy endings and things like that, but you won't know that until you try it. And you might come out of it.
Yeah, I hear that. My final two questions to you. So, Jam, if our listeners want to know more about TechTwo, where can they find out more?
Websites. So look at our LinkedIn. We're big on LinkedIn.
Okay. So connect with you both on there. We'll
just both on LinkedIn.
Yeah, we'll share the links in the show notes so people can connect with you.
If you haven't heard of the TechTwo.
Okay, where are you? Okay. So if you don't know, get to know. And so have the TechTwo actually got a LinkedIn company page called the TechTwo? You might want to think about that.
Get the design team on that.
And then my final question that I ask all my guests, because listening to you, I know you're both very busy. You've just come back from Arab Health when we're filming this now as well. I always ask that question about balance. How do you maintain balance and look after your health and well-being? So Rishi, don't tell me it's about football because we disagree on support. Tell me so different. No, but seriously, how do you look after your
my first answer was going to be football.
Okay. All right.
Whether watching it, I'm a sports nut. My wife drives my wife mad. I'll watch anything that's on, to be honest. Sport, gym, playing football, listening to podcasts. Sometimes I like doing a bit of art with my wife as well. A bit of downtime on the weekends. We do some sketches and stuff like that, which is cool. Just keeping fit. I think a lot of people will say that. I know it's a bit of a cliche, but like a fit body leads to a fit mind and everything like that. Clear headspace and things like that. But it really does help.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't see it as a cliche. I think when we're busy and we're in busy, fast-moving environments, I think actually it's important to remind our colleagues actually that, looking after yourself is important. So yeah, thank you for that. And to Jam, even more of support or rival issues with you, but go on. I'll have to put in the post that goes with who we support. Why am I saying?
Of course. I mean, you're wearing red, so that might just... You're a Liverpool fan. Never know. It could be United fan.
Never.
So definitely Liverpool fan.
Definitely.
No, but again, what Rishi said, keep yourself active is big. Again, keeping fit keeps fit mind. I've learned that through uni, watching influencers on like YouTube Shorts, saying the exact same thing. But also downtime, so actually spend a lot of time with family.
Yeah.
Whether it's watching TV with mum and dad, to lie down on the sofa like a lazy guy.
Yeah. But that quality time with family.
Even if they're watching a show that I'm generally not interested in, just being in the same room as them, a lot of support. I've been given a lot of support from my family, especially from mum, dad, brother, little sister.
Yeah.
If didn't mention that.
Okay.
Work-life balance.
Yeah.
Family time is invaluable, isn't it?
Yeah, you can't put money on family time.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you both. I feel like I would like to speak to you again in about a year's time and see how it's going for you. It's been so interesting to hear your journey, what helped, the challenges that you face, and as you said, no pun intended, but how you have been brave to get to where you are now. But I also want to say thank you, because I think a lot of what you shared, so many, like I said, gold, gems that you shared in there, that I think will really help some listeners about who are thinking of how to navigate, at any level, actually navigating your career, the importance of networks, but also what I heard very much and where we ended the conversation is for both of you, just how important family is to you as well. So really good to speak to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.